Good evening everyone, and welcome to LPO Online for the streaming of tonight's concert of Haydn and Mahler that we should have been playing this week at the Royal Festival Hall. My name is Simon Carrington, I'm the timpanist in the LPO, and I'd just like to share a few thoughts with you about tonight's concert. The first piece in the programme is Haydn's Symphony No. 26, Lamentation. This is an early example of Haydn's Sturm und Drang style in D minor. It's scored for small orchestra, just strings and a few winds, and it was written for Holy Week. It uses a Christus motif that was derived from the old plain song chant that would have been familiar to the audiences of the day. These days, of course, we think of Mahler as being the composer of wonderful lieder and epic symphonies, but actually in his day he was a great conductor. He was in demand all over Europe and the States, and he became the music director at the Vienna State Opera in 1897. He would compose during his summer breaks in the country, and the Ninth Symphony was written in a small lakeside hut near Toblach in Austria in the years of 1909 to 1910. In 1907, three crucial things happened in Mahler's life. After a turbulent time at the hands of critics and public alike, he resigned from his position at the Vienna State Opera. His daughter Maria contracted scarlet fever and tragically died, aged only 4 years old. And Mahler himself was diagnosed with a life-threatening heart condition that made him realise that his days on earth were seriously numbered. Thus the Ninth Symphony was written, conceived as a farewell to life. I think rather than give you any sort of detailed analysis of what goes on in the symphony, I'll just give you a few little musical pointers, things to listen out for. The symphony begins with a stuttering motif in the cellos and fourth horn, and this probably represents Mahler's faltering heartbeat. It's followed by a four-note motif in the harp, which possibly represents the tolling of funereal bells. Thereafter, the two-note falling, sighing motif that Mahler borrowed from Beethoven is heard, and the first section of the first movement develops into some of the most beautiful, generous, serene music that I think Mahler ever composed. For the second movement, Mahler returns to his favoured Ländler, an Austrian folk dance, in 3/4, beginning in C major, but still with the falling farewell motif at the music's heart. It's very different in character from the music in the first movement, plenty of thigh slapping and revelry, and gives us some much needed, light-hearted relief. The third movement, Scherzo, A minor, takes us back to the Scherzo, the second movement of the Fifth Symphony. Same key, same very busy, highly polyphonic music, until in the middle, in the same way as happens in the second movement of the Fifth Symphony, everything stops and there's a beautiful trumpet solo in D major that gives us a glimpse of the heaven that is to come in the last movement. And so to the last, highly emotionally charged but ultimately cathartic movement of this symphony. I think at this point I should mention Bruckner's Ninth Symphony, the third movement, the last completed movement of which he terms his farewell to life. It starts off with a just over an octave leap in the strings, and Mahler perhaps references this. Thence there's a chorale and variations, hugely romantic, incredibly chromatic music, very, very, very highly emotional, builds and builds and builds over this course of variations to an earth-shattering climax in the middle. Everything breaks down, everything is over, really, and the music dies very, very gradually. Life ebbs away. Life is finally over. I've been thinking about why these pieces may have been paired together for this concert. We have the Haydn Symphony No. 26 and the parallels with Mahler's own Farewell Symphony are obvious there. I was wondering whether there's also another reason, which is to do with the number 26. The sonata Les Adieux, Beethoven's sonata, from which Mahler borrowed for his Ninth Symphony, is the sonata number 26. So we have Haydn Symphony number 26 and Beethoven's sonata number 26. One more reason, possibly, is that Mahler very sadly didn't live to actually hear the premiere of this piece. He died in 1911, and the premiere was not until June 1912, and you've guessed it, on the 26th of June. Food for thought.